My heart filled with pride as I watched my daughter round second base. Then the outfielder made an error and threw the ball back into the infield. Brooke didn't even slow her step as she watched the left fielder throw. I held my breath as Brooke barely managed to catch the baton to third base. How many times had I told her to never make the first or last out of the inning at third base? The fans on our side of the field let out a collective sigh. It was the bottom of the ninth inning of the district championship game. 9 innings! The score was tied after the game ended, and now, in the second overtime, Brooke had made a triple early in the game. I have been a lifelong baseball fan, but I have never been more excited or nervous than I was at this moment. My daughter seemed determined to win the game, even if she had to do it alone. The next batter struck the ball out on 3 pitches. Now we had 1 out and a runner on third. The next batter fielded the ball to third base. Their girl playing third base was good. She watched Brooke go back to the bag and then threw the ball to first base and got a little extra. Brooke rushed home. I couldn't make a sound. A lump the size of an apple had formed in my throat. It was like everything was happening in slow motion. The first baseman caught the ball and handed it to the catcher. Brooke slid to the back of the plate as the catcher brought the ball up for the tag. It was so incredibly close. Time stood still as everyone waited for the umpire's decision. After what seemed like an eternity, he spread his arms down and to the sides, palms level with the ground. Pandemonium erupted. Tears streamed down my cheeks. I watched as Brooke's teammates shoved her in the back and enclosed her in a group hug. For a moment, I felt bad that the other team couldn't win either. They put forth an incredible effort, but only one team can come out victorious, and that's part of the game. I sat in the car as Brooke walked across the parking lot. She was laughing and joking with her teammates. Was there ever a prettier, smarter, more athletic girl in the world? I was overwhelmed with love for this young beauty. "Hi, Daddy," Brooke greeted, slipping into the passenger seat. "How did you like that game?" "Don't start talking about you getting the first out at third, Dad." "Brooke, there are some basic truths in baseball that have been proven time and time again. This is one of them," I replied. "I didn't come up with it, but it's a fact." "What about the fact that my arm was hurting and I didn't think I could pitch another batter, let alone another inning?" she asked. "I knew we had to do it in that inning or we'd be in deep you-know-what." "We'd better get the ice in today, Brooke. I didn't know your arm hurt." "Did you tell your coach?" I asked. "No, Dad. That would have put her in a tough spot. She would have had to pull me out and she had no one else to put me in. Nancy has a sprained ankle and Stephanie has some kind of flu. Now we're going to the States next week." Brooke grinned. "That sure beats ending the season, doesn't it?" I marveled at the child sitting next to me, the former driver. I changed her dirty diapers and taught her how to ride a bike, showed her how to throw, catch, and hit. Now she's the reason her school won the county competition and is going to States. I smugly took some credit for her many academic and athletic successes. "Where are we going, Daddy?" Brooke asked. "You missed the turnoff to Route 6. "We're going to celebrate winning the district, honey. I hear the new Hilton Hotel in Wilkes Barre is rumored to have one of the best restaurants in the county. I think we both deserve a big steak and baked potato," I announced. "Dad, you're the one who likes steak and potatoes. I'm going to order the lobster. I might suggest you wash down your steak with a mug of frosty MGD." Brooke laughed. "Hey, I never thought of that. But now that you've suggested it, I might do that, Brooke. You're a genius." "Yeah, I know. The fact that we've been recycling those beer cans all our lives is imprinted on my brain, Dad. I'd have to be an idiot not to know what you like. You're not that original, you know," Brooke quipped. When we entered the restaurant, there was already a 10-minute line waiting for a table. I was handed one of those things that lights up and vibrates when it's my turn. I sat down on a bench while Brooke excused herself to the ladies' room. She returned about 5 minutes later. I didn't pay much attention, and it wasn't until a few minutes later that I noticed tears streaming down Brooke's cheeks. "Brooke, what's wrong, baby? Does your arm hurt?" "What's the matter, honey?" I asked. "You know that Mom couldn't come to my game because she had to go to Philadelphia for work, right?" Brooke sobbed. "So that's it. Brooke, you know your mom has a high-pressure job at an insurance company and has to travel a lot. She really wanted to go to your game, but her schedule didn't allow it," I reasoned. "Don't feel bad about it, honey. She'll probably come to the States. I don't care if she ever comes to my game. She can go straight to hell." Brooke shouted. I was stunned. Brooke never spoke ill of her mother or used vulgar language, although she heard it from me sometimes. Her emotional outburst was a complete shock to me. Oh, Daddy, you're as blind as I am. Mom didn't go to Philadelphia. She's sitting inside with some slick bastard, holding hands with him and laughing. She doesn't care about any of us. Brooke couldn't have surprised me more if she told me she just signed with the Yankees. My wife, Brooke's mother, got involved with another man? I felt dizzy. Brooke wrapped her arms around me and sobbed. Tears began to flow down my cheeks as well. How could one of the best days of our lives be gone so quickly? I pulled away from Brooke enough to return the vibrator signalizer to my hostess, then hugged Brooke and led her back to the car. I helped her into the car and then climbed into the driver's seat. I didn't start the car because I could barely see. The two of us sat in the parking lot for another 10 minutes. Gradually, the nausea, shame, and terror eased, and I was able to wipe my eyes and focus. Brooke, are you sure it was your mother? I asked quietly. It's entirely possible that you were wrong. We can get upset over nothing. It could have been someone who looked like Natalie. Perhaps that's what you saw. That's right, Dad. What? I don't know what my own mother looks like? There must be several thousand purple Lexus SUVs with license plates with the name Nat on them. Like that one over there? I must be seeing things, Brooke wailed. I looked in the direction she'd pointed and saw Natalie's car a few rows ahead of where we were sitting. It was impossible to be wrong. I'm sorry, Brooke. I guess I was just trying to deny that it could happen to me, to us, I apologized. It's pretty obvious that your mother is in that hotel. She lied to both of us and is cheating on me. We have to accept that fact and decide what to do next. And then my cell phone rang. I knew who it was before I even looked at the screen. It was Natalie. I didn't want her to realize that Brooke and I knew where she was and what she was doing. At least not before I could decide on a course of action. Hi, Natalie, I replied as calmly as I could. Hi, honey, Natalie exclaimed. How was the game? I'd love to know who won. The game? We won it and we're going to the States next week. Brooke played well, I understated. Put her on the phone, honey. I want to congratulate her and tell her how proud I am of her. I wish I could have been there, Natalie lied. Well, she's with some of her teammates right now, Natalie. I'll pass on the message, I promised. Are you in Philadelphia right now? Driving down Broad Street as I speak, Natalie laughed. The traffic here is slow, so I thought I'd call and see how it went. Be careful in that new car, Natalie. You're driving your Lexus, aren't you? I asked. Of course I am, Tim. I love this car. It's very safe, and it's not nearly as fuel-guzzling as your Ford. I gotta go, Tim. I'm almost at the hotel. Love you, and I'll call you again tomorrow, she promised. I hung up the phone and looked at Brooke. It looked like she was about to snap again. Then she snorted and smiled at me. To hell with that bitch. Right, Daddy? Brooke asked rhetorically. We can have a normal life without her, maybe even better. We can if you stop using profanity, young lady. Things may have turned to shit, but that's no reason to act like you're low class. I raised you better than that, I chided. I'm sorry, I was just so angry and I thought only swear words fit the situation, Brooke explained. I'm better now, but I'm worried about you, Dad. At first, all I could think about was how little my game meant to her. She'd rather sneak off to fuck some stud than watch me play in the district championship. I didn't even think about how awful you feel. Well, it certainly hurts. I admit it. I don't know what to do next. It's such a shock. I can't even think straight. Really, Dad? I'd think you'd kick her sorry ass out so fast it'd make her dizzy. She has absolutely no respect for you or me. That lie, even without a boyfriend, would be enough to divorce her, don't you think? Brooke asked. It seems like it would have been. But over the years, I've learned that it's better to think things through rather than act hastily. I can always file for divorce. Just have to be sure that's the best course of action, I replied. Dad, do you have a spare key to Mom's car? If you do, please give it to me. I do, Brooke, but why do you need it? I asked. It seems to me that it would be the last piece of evidence. If the key fob works on the car over there, we'll be sure that Mom isn't staying at some hotel in Philadelphia, Brooke reasoned. I handed Brooke the key, and she trotted toward the car. As she approached it, she pressed the key fob button, and I saw the headlights flash. To my surprise, Brooke climbed in and started Natalie's car. She waved as she drove past me. I quickly started my car and turned around to follow her. I didn't have to follow her very far. She drove a block, pulled into the Best Western parking lot, reached the back corner, and jumped out. As she approached my car, she pushed the button to lock Natalie's car, then climbed in with me. "This is just a small slice of how Mom's life will go," Natalie laughed. "Imagine when she can't find her car. She won't be able to report it stolen in Philadelphia. Her story will fall apart when she's questioned by the police. If she reports it stolen here, she'll have to explain why the car was here when she said she drove it to Philly. Lying complicates things." I didn't know whether to be proud of Brooke or make an appointment for her to see a psychiatrist. Such a brilliant idea would never have occurred to me. But the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. Let Natalie learn firsthand how lies can bite you in the ass. We stopped at a Burger King a few miles down the road and had some fries and a hamburger, then headed home. Brooke started asking thought-provoking questions. "How long do you think Mom has been running around behind your back, Dad? Do you think she's done it a lot of times? Why do you think she does it? Is she a sex maniac or something? How was your love life with her?" "Brooke, I've been thinking about it. She's been really nice to me in the bedroom lately. I can't really complain about that. As for how long and how long ago, I have no idea. I never thought she was particularly promiscuous," I admitted. Obviously, I had no idea anything was wrong. "I bet she started when she started acting particularly sexy with you. Women do that to minimize their guilt." "How long ago did she start it?" Brooke inquired. "I don't know. Probably over the Christmas holidays. I thought life had been going great for the last 5 months. I know Natalie has been absent more than usual, but she always seemed eager to make amends," I allowed. Somehow, it seemed perfectly normal to discuss the intimate details of my sex life with my daughter. We'd always been close. It brought us even closer together. For a 17-year-old, Brooke was surprisingly mature in so many ways. Sex had never been a taboo topic in our house. Natalie and I felt we should always be honest and open when discussing it with Brooke. We wanted her to understand the dangers and pitfalls of starting sexual activity too early. "You know you need to go to the doctor for a checkup, right? You don't know who the stud has been with, do you, Dad? Everyone he's slept with, you could say he's slept with you too, as far as diseases are concerned," Brooke cautioned. "You should also buy condoms if you're going to keep sleeping with Mom." "Brooke, I'm not going to buy condoms. Wouldn't that be a strong indication that I suspect something? Your mom isn't stupid, even though she acts like it," I added. "But I can't have sex with her anymore. I don't want to be intimate with her anymore. I'll go for a checkup and just find ways to distract your mother until I decide what to do next." "Just make sure you take care of yourself, Dad. I'm going to depend on you more than ever. When you decide to divorce her, I'll come live with you, that's for sure." Brooke was adamant. "Why are you so sure it's going to end in divorce, Brooke? Isn't it possible that Natalie and I can work things out? Dad, you're always gentle and kind to Mom and me, but I know how you think and feel. You'll never be able to accept that Mom is lying to you, even if you could get past the sex. She's past it, and it's just a matter of when you accept that fact," Brooke predicted. I wondered how many men in my position, and there must be millions over the years, have an intelligent daughter with whom they can talk things over. Brooke kept me from falling apart. She made me look at the situation logically, not emotionally. Pursued only my best interests and had no hidden agenda. Could a person have a better confidant? The next day, I made a doctor's appointment. After work, I stopped by the school to pick up Brooke after practice. I arrived a little early and watched the girls practice. The other parents were heaping praise on Brooke's play in the neighborhood. I felt pretty good about that and lousy about my marriage. Natalie showed up at the door around 7. I tried to greet her the same way I usually did, but it seemed weak. I wondered if Natalie would notice. I shouldn't have bothered. "I missed you so much, Tim," Natalie exclaimed. "I'll show you how much I missed you later. By the way, I was wondering if you still had a spare key to my car." "Sure. Here it is in my pocket," I replied, reaching inside and pulling out her spare key. "Did you lose yours?" "No. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to drive home, would I?" Natalie answered a little too quickly. "I just thought I should have a spare in case I lost mine." "Okay," I agreed, and handed her the key. She must have found her car, but she was suspicious of how it had been moved. She would be more careful now. As if on cue, Brooke walked into the room. "Hey, Mom, how's Philly? Did she have a good time?" she asked. "I didn't expect to have a good time, Brooke. These meetings are long and hard," Natalie insisted. "They're not fun." "Okay, Mom. Long and hard, but not fun. I'll remember that. Why do you keep working if you're suffering so much?" Brooke wondered. Daddy makes good money and you're smart. You could find something that gives you more free time to spend with us. I love my job most of the time. Besides, I won't always spend so much time traveling. I think things will settle down by the end of the year, and then I'll have plenty of time to spend with you. You'll see. Natalie carried her small suitcase into the bedroom and closed the door. Brooke gestured for me to follow her into the kitchen. Did you hear that, Dad? It looks like her lover will be moving out by the end of the year, and then you can have Mom. How's that for a deal? Lies and possible STDs for another 6 months or so, and then it's all over, unless she finds a new stud, of course. Can you live with that decision? Brooke asked. You take too much out of one sentence, Brooke, I remarked. It may not be what she said, and it's probably not what it's all about. Remember, I grew up around both of you, and I know how you both think. Mom thinks that she can have this affair and then go back to normal next year, and no one will be hurt by it, Brooke argued. Well, that's a moot point, Brooke. I can't live with that arrangement for long. I can't live with it for a day. It's really stressful for me, I admitted. Well, it's going to stay that way until you take steps to resolve the situation, Dad. These things don't just go away. You know that. That night I told Natalie that my back and head hurt. But even then, she suggested that I lie still, and she would do the work. It took some effort to talk her out of sex. That's what my life has come down to. I have to talk my own wife out of having sex with me. I really resented that. The next night, as I watched Brooke's team finish practice, it seemed to me that the mothers of several of the girls were friendlier than usual. Brooke noticed it too. She mentioned it on the way home. Daddy, did I see Emily's mom holding your hand while talking to you? It looked like she was pressing her breasts against your hand. It's no accident when a woman does that, Brooke assured me. Then I saw Mrs. Thomas offer you a drink of her soda. Looks like you've suddenly become a stud among softball players' parents. I thought it was weird, too, I admitted. I had the distinct feeling that these women were unusually friendly for some reason. Could it be that because you're about to be free, they're lining up to sign you? Brooke wondered. What exactly are you talking about, Brooke? They don't know that I might become free. Besides, my market value isn't that high, I concluded. I may have mentioned in a conversation with the girls in the locker room last night that my mom is cheating on you, Brooke said. Emily and Steph were especially interested in finding out about it. Over the past few years, both of their fathers had left their moms. They thought you would make a good stepfather. Apparently, their mothers agree. I was again amazed at what my daughter said. She told her teammates that Natalie was cheating on me. Why not just put it in the paper and on the internet? What were you thinking? It's not something everyone needs to know about, Brooke. It's very embarrassing for me. Have you considered that maybe other people already know, Dad? Isn't it even more embarrassing to be ignorant of a situation that everyone else knows about? The girls already know about it. Trudy's mom saw your loving wife and a man walk into that hotel room a few weeks ago when she was there for a conference. The only difference is that now the girls' moms know that your mom's cheating mom knows about it, so it won't seem like they are destroying the family. Let's face it, our family is pretty well ruined as it is, Brooke concluded. How many times can you shock someone before it becomes normal and stops being shocking? Other people knew I was a cuckold. Somehow that made everything that was happening seem even worse. The last shred of pride had been ripped out of me. After this week, nothing could surprise me. There's more, Dad. Sarah had been complaining since last winter that Dad wasn't home much. She told us last week that they were moving after Thanksgiving because the insurance company her dad works for was moving him. Last night, Trudy's mom saw Sarah's dad picking her up after practice, and guess what? She recognized him as the same stud who sleeps with her mom. Tonight I went with Sarah to her car and made sure of it. He is the same guy who was with her the night I saw them. All this information made my head spin. How did the kids manage to find out so much? Could it all be a coincidence? Is there such a thing as coincidence? Could our children know us that well? Why did I even pretend to think about this? All I have to do is ask Brooke. What am I supposed to do now, Brooke? I moaned. I can't think straight anymore. Well, I'm glad you asked, Dad. I knew you'd look like a pretty good catch to most soccer or softball moms. These ladies confirmed that today. You don't have to put up with a woman who lies and cheats. You deserve better, and I'm going to help you get it. But first, you need to get rid of the ballast. It was the night before Brooke's first state playoff game. and Natalie had to leave for another business trip. She promised Brooke that she would drive all day if she needed to in order to get back in time for the start of the game. That last lie helped ease our consciences. There was a knock on the room door from room service. A bottle of champagne was brought in. I convinced management that the couple in room 402 were very close to us, and we wanted to surprise them. It all sounded very friendly and loving. When the door opened, I slipped a 20 into the guy's shirt pocket, grabbed the champagne, and squeezed in. Brooke, Sarah, and Sarah's mom followed me in. Natalie was lying in bed, clutching a sheet to her neck. Shithead was wearing a robe and looked completely confused. "We really hate to bother you at work," I began. "It's just that Sarah and Brooke wanted to celebrate the district win with all their parents. The fact that Sarah hit a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 7th, tying the score, and then made the save in the top of the 8th, while Brooke hit a 1-hitter and tripled and scored the winning run in the 9th, seemed to escape both of you. Try to imagine how proud Susan and I are of the girls, and then imagine what you missed. Truth be told, you can't. You should have been there, and you weren't." Susan raised 4 glasses, and I poured champagne into each one. I managed to open the bottle before room service knocked on the door. I handed a glass each to Natalie and Shithead. "To truth and to the success of our daughters," I toasted. "To the new direction of our lives, and to Sarah and her mom not having to move this fall. Most importantly, here's to smart kids and good lawyers." Sarah's mom, Susan, and I sipped fizz while the girls drank sodas. "Don't bother coming home, Steve. Sarah and I will get along just fine without you. My lawyer assures me that the settlement will allow me to keep the house and live a life of ease. Sarah won't have to change schools again. You get to keep the whore, so I think it's pretty fair." Susan grinned, but without any mirth. "Tim! Brooke!" Natalie screamed. "I love you both. Don't do anything rash. Nothing is what it seems." "Well, I'm glad to hear that, Natalie," I said, relieved. "Because it looks like you're lying naked in bed with that asshole. What part am I seeing wrong?" "Look on the bright side, Mom," Brooke added. "You won't have to lie to avoid attending my events. You'll be able to sleep with anyone anytime without feeling guilty. You won't have to worry about giving Daddy an STD. You'll never have to see how upset he got when he found out he was a cuckold. I know you want the same thing for Daddy that I do, which is for him to be happy. Somehow, I think he'll be happy now. Thanks for everything, Mom. Just don't embarrass me by showing up at any event I'm involved in, okay?" All 4 of us walked out the door, and Natalie sobbed softly.